Hi everybody. So I am going to read the next chapter in our lovely book, Be Not Far From Me. Ellen read the first chapter, so if you haven't seen that, go ahead and go see hers first, or else it won't make sense. So I'm going to read day one. Go ahead and tell you I don't pronounce words very well, so bear with me. Don't make fun of me if I mispronounce a word. Don't judge me, okay? So here we go. Day one. When I wake up, I know two things. One is that it's nearly noon and somebody should have came looking for me by now, and the other is that I have really fucked up my foot. In the moonlight, all I can make out was the damage done to my toes, but once I unwrap my shirt, there's a lot more on display and none of it should be visible. The human foot is a complicated thing, and I know a lot about it after putting hundreds of miles of trail underneath mine. When you hike as much as I do, you learn that small parts you should know, and when you hike as much as I do, you learn that small parts you didn't know you had can hurt until it seems like it's the only bit of you left, anything at all. There are 26 bones in my foot, and right now I can see a handful of them, plain as day, as well as a tendon with a tear that is going to send me into a world of pain as soon as I try to stand up. But I've got to, because the sun is high and my head is pounding, my lips cracked and begging for a drink. Water is my first priority, and I'm lucky enough to remember splashing through a stream last night before kneeling over. I pull myself to the edge of the ridge and spot it. Although using the word stream would be an exaggeration. It's a trickle of water run off from places higher than this one, going in search of something lower. Everything it touches as it heads downward is in there. Animal shit and rotting plants. All kinds of things that I don't want in me, but I don't have much choice right about now. If I had my pack, I could drop a purification tablet into my canteen, but I don't have my canteen. All I've got is my mouth and my hands, and I guess that's enough, because a few moments later, I'm not thirsty anymore. I'm worried about my foot, and if I just ingested any bacteria, I'm worried about my foot and if I've just ingested any bacteria, but mostly the basic part of me needing a drink, so I went and got one. My next challenge is going to be standing up. I know it's going to hurt, know that the fresh blood is going to gush in agony, will rush up my leg and take over my head in a black wave, but knowing it doesn't make it any easier. And a noise comes out of me no sane person can make, as I lean against a tree for support and force myself to breathe in deep breaths until the spots of my vision start to fade. So I'm up. Now I've got to walk. My immediate thought is, fuck that. But my other option is to yell for help, and to be honest, I'd rather pass out 4 or 5 times on the way back to the camp site than admit that I need it. It's deep inside me, a gene come down from my mama that drove her to do everything alone, even the last thing, which was leaving. The little bit of DNA is mixed up with my dad's inability to say he was wrong about something, an explosive mix that blew their marriage to bits when I was just a kid. Put those things together inside of one person instead of facing off, and what you get is me. I'm a living example of an old saying, if you want something done right, do it yourself. Because I sure as hell am never wrong, and other people just get in my way. Even when my foot is splayed open and I'm alone in the woods, I am not calling for help. I'll drag myself back to camp on my elbows before I admit I can't do this on my own. Thing is, I'm not sure which way camp is. I was hurting in more ways than one when I ran last night. Drunk, hysterical, injured, I don't know how far I went or what direction I was pointing, which is an issue. It's like a math equation. There can only be so many unknown variables before it becomes an unsolvable problem. I can find north easy enough, but I don't know which way camp is. I lean forward, grabbing for the next tree that can hold me and taking a hop, bad foot in the air. The pain is enormous, but I grit my teeth and aim for the next tree until I can scan the far ridge closely. I've never been much of a hunter, but Dad taught me to track so that I know what was in the woods with me. Looking for a passage of something as big as an insane teenage girl should be easy, I think, as I look for signs I made last night. There's a decent furrow where it looks like I went down on my shoulder and slid a good ways towards the stream, and a break in the back end at the top where I busted through. Good enough. I take a deep breath, bracing myself for the climb, which is nearly impossible when all I can do is hop. I fall twice, misjudging the reach of my arm and ended up with a face full of leaves, and once nearly losing an eye on a down limb. Even though I won't yell for my friends, instead I say, God damn it, under my breath and get back up. I figure God can hear me at least, and he should know how I feel about the situation. By the time I reach the top, my foot feels like a lead weight at the end of my leg, and my knee hurts from keeping it bent. There's sweat running down my face and pulling my bra, but goosebumps popping underneath it when I pass to the shade. It's not warm and not cold right now. It's the perfect temperature to make you unhappy both ways. But it's the least of my problems. Once I reach the top, I bitch all the time about people who don't know how to walk in the woods, the ones that break branches and kick up noise, turning over rotting woods with one step, crushing new growth with the next. I don't want to hike with them, for sure, but I wish in this moment that I was one of them. Apparently, even when I'm drunk crazy woman, I don't leave a trail. I swear and slide to the ground, leaning back against the tree for support. I stretch out my knee and take a good look at my foot, trying not to get freaked about the fact that my tendon is taking a good look back at me. It's not bleeding so much anymore, but it's starting to swell from hanging at the end of my leg like a pendulum. I take my shirt off and tie it tight around my foot, ignoring the throb of pain from my own pulse as I do. I blow out everything I've got in one breath, thinking hard. I could have gone far, but this time it's slipperier when you're drunk. Conversations that drift in and out of seem at least 4 hours instead of only minutes. So I guess it's possible. I ran longer than I think, which is not good. A wave of panic crusts in my gut, pushing its way up into my throat and threatening to squeeze tears out of my eyes. I will not cry. For one thing, I'm not lost, so it would be stupid. For another, whether I'm lost or not, it'll dehydrate me. And last, suppose Duke or Kavita or Meredith comes up on me while I'm sitting 20 yards from the camp in my bra and crying. Nope, I say to myself at the thought, not happening. I am fine. So I get up and I look for blazes. Natalie, bless her dirty little soul, was right about the blazes she mentioned last night. They're useless at night, but in the daylight they should stand out against the trees. I'm off trail, no doubt, but I can't be too far off. I steady myself and look around, straining my eyes as far as I can see, ignoring the quick dash of a squirrel and knock of a woodpecker. All I want in the world right now is a blob of white paint. I don't see one. Well, shit, I say. I have options. I can try to find my shoes. Even the thought of putting my crushed toes in them makes me flinch. But I can at least put my right one on and make better time back to the road. Once I find the trail, and if I can find my shoes, then surely I can find the campsite. I didn't wander too far just to take a piss, and the white of my socks should show up like a beacon in all this brown and green. It's true. I should be able to spot them right away. And the simple fact both comforts and terrifies me, because finding them should be easy. Unless I ran so far away last night that I can't see a flash of bleached white in the middle of gray afternoon in the woods. It's okay, I say. You're fine. I don't know why I'm talking, but the woods break up the thoughts that are starting to form. If I can't find the campsite, then picking up the trail is going to be, it's not impossible, I say, biting down on the words, wanting them to feel more substantial. Around me, the woods have fallen quiet, the unfamiliar echo of my voice sending everything into a standstill, tiny ears perked. Mind you, too, my mouth closing. There's a questioning chirping from a robin, the answering knock of a woodpecker, and then a squirrel climbs a tree about 40 yards away, circling as he ascends. He is unconcerned, tail big and bushy, not in any kind of hurry. And that means nothing good for me. If I'm anywhere near my friends, the woods would be quiet, their morning after grumbles and good-natured teasing carrying into the trees, hushing the birds and keeping every animal on alert. There's nothing like that here. As soon as I went silent, the woods around me came to life, carrying on as if there was no predator in the area. Because there's not. Which means I'm alone. Shit, I say. Shit. The squirrel peeks out at me from between the branches, surprised. He chatters to let everyone else know there's a problem and keeps an eye on me. Well aware I can't do anything to him from the ground, and I can't. I couldn't do anything to anybody other than freak out on them right now. It pisses me off, so I grab a handful of dead leaves and toss them in his direction, which only gets me another earful from him and dirt in my hair, as it falls back on me. The squirrel adds his last thought, then pops into his nest. Dick, I mutter. It comes out funny because I'm about to cry. My mouth all twisted up. It sounds a little like my boyfriend's name, actually. But I'll die right here with my shirt on my foot and my back against a tree before I yell for him. Somebody else, though. I might have to admit that calling for help is where I'm at. Except that word is ugly to me. Like how Meredith won't say God in front of Dammit. So it's her I'm thinking about when I yell. And her name bounces back at me off the trees. Meredith! It kills the woods dead. Everything hearing the edge of my voice, sending my fear right into them. Except that damn squirrel. His head comes out of the nest like he's afraid he might miss something. I try again. Take a deep breath right down to the bottom of my legs and scream my friend's name so loud it hurts in my foot. Meredith! Nothing. I picture her still wiped out in the tent, hands flat underneath her cheek the way she always sleeps. Like one of those stupid baby angels in a painting. I don't know if I'm thinking about it that way. I don't know if I'm thinking about it that way because I want so badly for them to still be here, or if I just like the idea of someone else being warm. because I'm not. The breeze has picked up, sending the mottled shade around me into a kaleidoscope. Whatever. Canopy shakes. When it comes to smell I usually love, but right now, rain. Kavita, I tell myself that her name is sharper. We'll travel further. Nobody answers. Duke. It tears out of me before I said it could. Desperation in my voice. That's got everything to do with being alone. Not only just right here, right now, but there's no calling back, no voice to answer me. I think of Jason, yelling girl's name all the time, and I think this could have been the moment, but he's not here for it. Stephanie. It's my last shot, and it takes all the breath I've got left. 3 syllables, projecting in a voice that the drama teacher kept begging me to put on stage ever since all the mics got blown out in a power surge. There's no response. I can't remember the brother's name, which leaves Natalie. I consider it for a second, my mouth hanging open in indecision. Fuck that, I say, instead. There's no point, because there's no one here. They probably woke up hungover and grumpy, maybe not even noticing I was gone until they took down the tents, expecting me to be inside of one. I imagine Duke keeping his head low, trying to hide his nose, Natalie breezily ignoring any questions about when she saw me last. Maybe they would complain, explain that I'd come across them in the woods, talking. I'm sure that's all they would admit to, leaving out that neither of them was wearing pants. Duke wouldn't be able to cover his nose forever, and everyone would know I broke it, and they'd probably guess why. And if I was mad enough to do that, I was probably done with the whole thing, and every one of them too. I probably left. I bet they imagined a pissed off Ashley heading back to the road and hiking to town, getting a ride home from Uncle Chuck at the gas station. I can hardly blame them for thinking it, since that's exactly what I should have done, and would have if I hadn't been so drunk. Somebody would have grabbed my pack, doing me a favor. With the thought comes the first grumble of my stomach. Things change from going to rain to definitely raining, pretty quick. The fast pattering of drops deflecting my leaves switches into a downpour without much warning. I've got nothing for cover and no time to make any shelter. I remember seeing a decent-sized spruce tree back the way I came, so I lurch onto a good foot and try a few hops, grabbing for anything to keep me upright as I go. I'm drenched when I find the spruce again. Water running down my nose, right into my stomach, and more following the path of my spine down to my underwear. I'm wet in every place I've got, so it doesn't matter a lot when I drop to the ground and slide under the lowest burrows of the tree, knocking loose the droplets clinging to each needle. It doesn't make me any wetter, but it doesn't make me any warmer either. The rain sitting on my skin might be stealing my body heat, but the drops that land fresh are cold and not finding a lot of warmth left to take. I push with my good foot and drag with my elbows until I'm up against the trunk, the tree shielding me not from everything, but from a lot of it. Okay, I say to myself, barely rising above the dim of the storm. Where do I stand? I immediately start laughing because I can't even stand. My foot hurts so damn bad, it's all I can think about. My brain constantly processing pain signals and not allowing for much else. But I've got to, because I can either lie under this tree and think about how shitty I feel, or I can do something about it. Doing something is what I'm good at. Dad always says so. And that I got it from Mom. He'll lean on a shovel in the yard and look at the tree that needs to go into the ground for 20 minutes, talking out the different ways to go about digging a hole, unless I kick the shovel out from under him and just start digging it. At this moment, I'm in a hole for sure, and one I dug myself. I have nothing, I'm injured. That's the first thing that comes when I decide to take a stock. It's a shit answer, and one sure to send me to another panic if I let it. So I stare it down and call it wrong. I have a shirt, a bra, and underwear. I have a pair of jeans. Thank God I didn't change into the cute little shorts Meredith insisted I pack. Right now my shirt is on my foot, something that needs to be rectified. Putting it back on soaking wet is only going to chill me further. But once this rain stops, I'll need to dry my clothes. I also need to keep my wound clean, which is my first problem. I unwrap my shirt gingerly, wincing as the last few inches come away and the big flap of skin lifts up with it. The only thing holding my foot together is my foot. The bones are bright, shining white in a sea of pink. I'm definitely swollen, but everything looks reasonably clean enough, and I'm not bleeding anymore. Well, at least from there anyway. Shit. I prop my foot up on a branch and lie back on the carpet of needles beneath me, surprisingly soft on the bare skin of my back. I blow out a long breath, thinking about all the things in my pack. Food, dry clothes, tampons. Menstruating in the woods is not a big deal, usually. Duke used to make a lot of stupid jokes about bears. I laughed because I thought it was supposed to. But it's no different than anything else. The old question, does a bear shit in the woods, can easily be changed to, does a woman menstruate in the woods? The answer is the same. And just like the bear, nobody ever witnesses it because it's really not that remarkable. unless you're lost and verging on a toxic shock syndrome situation sometime in the near future. I've got enough problems as it is. I decide I'd rather wander through the forest for the next week smelling like an uncooked roast than have a headline read, "Local girl 17 killed by tampon." I snort out a laugh, surprising myself. I should be a lot of things right now. Scared, sad, angry, even. But apparently I'm amused by my situation. Get a grip, Hawkins, I say, and go back to listing my assets. Shirt, bra, jeans, underwear. That's it. But I can work with that. I turn my tee inside out, inspecting the seams of the sleeves. Most of my clothes have a few years' wear on them. And this one is no different. It's an old softball jersey from a co-ed summer team that I played on with Dad's bar buddies. They put me on the roster as an alternate until pregnancy and a breakup wiped some of the ladies off the list. I shut up with my bat and told them I played infield or I didn't play. They laughed in a good-natured way, told me, of course, I'd be in the dirt. They wouldn't think of putting Vern's daughter anywhere else. Dad let his buddies give me a hard time knowing I'd take care of it myself. So I turned a double play and ran down a tag on a guy who'd been staring my ass from the other dugout, leaving him with no more cat calls in his mouth. Just a bunch of grit in his teeth from where he dove for second, but I beat him there. I wore the shirt 2 more seasons until injuries, new babies, and at least one case of addiction left us with a sad lineup that couldn't take a trophy in a seniors league. We faded out, but I kept the shirt, and now I'm eyeing a loose string I think I can get at with my teeth. It comes away easy enough, so I start picking with my fingers, careful not to break what's already pulled free. I get pretty far before I lose too much light. The storm's rolling in and stealing hours of the daylight. Bringing the dark before the sun's actually gone, I've got a length of loose thread about as long as my hand, and I might be able to get the sleeve off with a good yank. I'd be smarter to wait until morning, take the time to pull each tedious stitch so that I don't have a bandage for my toes and some strings. But I can't do that. I can't do that because I'm Ashley Hawkins and I have not accomplished a damn thing today except panic, cry some, and bleed all over myself in more places than one. That is not acceptable, and I will not sleep with no shirt on and nothing covering an open wound in my foot. Nope, I reassert, yanking the sleeve free. It comes off easier than I expected, and my hand hits the tree trunk hard enough to bring a sting that burns past the cold that's soaked down to my bones. It's like stubbing your toe. There's a moment where it doesn't quite hurt yet, then, fuck, I say, cradling my hand to my wet stomach and rocking over it like it's a baby I'm trying to put to sleep. But I got what I wanted. I slipped the sleeve over my injured foot with the name of our team, Designated Drinkers, facing up. It's not much, but it'll keep the dirt out. I squeeze as much water as I can out of what's left of my shirt and slip it on. It's cold against my skin, and every inch of me shines away from it. But I've got nothing else, and I don't look like it's going to, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop raining anytime soon. I turn on my side, curl into a ball, and amazingly fall asleep. Alright, so that was the end of this chapter, day 1. So we will continue with day 2 on sometime next week. Probably on Thursday, I believe. Yeah, Thursday. We'll continue day 2. So this was fun, and we'll see what happens to Ashley.